Welcome to Elevate Your Life and Soul. I'm your host, Marla Kennedy, life coach, mama, and spiritual soul seeker. Each week, this podcast will bring you interviews, stories, and mentoring so you can truly know your value, know your worth, and elevate all areas of your life. Let's rise together. Welcome to episode 6. I'm so happy to be here as always, and in today's episode it's just going to be me jamming on a bit of a topic that I think is really useful, and I hope you find it of value as well. So the other day I was talking to someone about doing my business, running my business and podcasts, and if this is your first episode, then listening to me, I'm a mama and I have a 4-year-old and a new baby who's a few months old. So it's quite busy, and my partner works a lot. He has his own business as well, and he's works a lot doing photography and videography. So time is very limited. And I was talking to someone and they asked me how I handle running a business and doing a podcast and juggling a baby and a 4-year-old. And so I thought I'd share a little bit about that today, because let me tell you, it isn't the easiest thing in the world, but it's given me a lot of clarity actually. And it's something that I really love. I feel that having something that keeps my mind busy, and I love serving, it's just so important to me. So I'm not going to be a stay-at-home mum solely, because there's other things that I want to do, and I'm very passionate about being a role model for my kids in a way that I show them what's possible for them by going hard in my business and all out and all in. And I think it's really amazing for all mums to embrace this, or embrace being a stay-at-home mum if that is your calling, because maybe it is. It's just not necessarily for me. And I love my kids. We have a lot of fun together. And it's a juggle. So I'm just going to riff on this a little bit, share what I do and what works for me and what hasn't really. So the first thing is I really, really have to prioritize. What I've found over the last couple of years in my business is that I've always done everything by myself, and I've always really, I've really done everything, tried to do everything. I had like a Pinterest account, Facebook account, a website, a blog. I built my website in WordPress, but myself. I think once I got someone to do something on my website for me because it was technical and I couldn't work it out. But apart from that, it's all been me putting the templates in and setting up how I want it to look and everything. And it's been really time consuming, and and writing copy and stuff, it takes a lot of time. And then having coaching clients and, promoting on social media and across the different groups, and having Facebook and then Facebook groups, and then being active in Facebook groups, and then Instagram and Instagram lives, Facebook lives, stories, it gets to be a lot. I mean, just talking about it feels quite overwhelming. And if you want to know more about managing overwhelm, check out episode 5 where I chatted with Ali Wilkins. It was a really fun episode as well, when we went into getting unstuck and managing overwhelm. And this is something now for me where prioritizing, it's a huge thing. I have to do it if I'm going to get anything done. And, I probably used to faff about and just stuff around a little bit before, doing things that weren't the most efficient and most value-adding things that I could do in my business because I had more time, and I thought they would be useful. Whereas right now, especially because my baby's so new, so this will shift with my son starting school this year as well. My time will free up a little bit more. But now I find that I'm just getting really, really clear on what's going to be the most efficient and effective things for my business. So, and in saying that, I'm a manifesting generator in human design. If you know what that is or are interested in that, I'm just discovering it and I really love it. So it's really, from what I know, it's really important that I tune into the things that light me up, which has been interesting too. And I will go into that as well, because I have previously done what I think I should do or what other people are doing and what's been effective for them. And that's not always the most productive way of approaching things. And I feel that we're all different, and some things are going to work really effectively for you, for other people, and they're not going to have the same impact if you try them because they don't necessarily light you up, or I don't know, it feels tiring. There are certain things that I've done that just don't resonate for me, and I've always dropped into what I should do and done that because I've thought it would be great for me and for my business and light up my soul. And it didn't light up my soul. It just kept me feeling overwhelmed and stuck and tired and just going through the motions without really feeling my heart in taking certain actions. And so I've been really tuning into this, especially in the last few weeks as I get really ready to jump in deep into my coaching again in Feb. And I've realized it's time to let go of the shoulds. It's time to not do things that don't really light me up. And that's not to say there are some tasks and things in my everyday that I still need to go ahead and do, because of course there are, but primarily focusing on like platforms, for instance. So I love Instagram and I love doing photo shoots. They're really fun, and actually they're a beautiful form of self-love, which I can jam on again in another episode if you are interested in that, because it is a challenge. It can be a challenging thing, but it is so loving to yourself to do something like that, and for confidence and all those good things. So I love Instagram for that, and it just has this vibe that I really like, and I really enjoy being on there. And Facebook, I've always posted on there, and I've always done a lot on there, and I've had groups, and I've been doing it a lot more because I thought I should, rather than because I really wanted to, because it really excited me. So going forward, I'm going to be focusing a lot more on Instagram, and I'll still be present on Facebook, but I'm also stepping back a lot and reevaluating how that fits into things for me. And right now it's feeling like it's going to be like quite a small part. Instagram will be my main focus, and of course this podcast. So, you know, I've thought about a podcast over the years, and I actually, it's so funny because I reflect on my life, and I actually forgot this when I decided I was going to do a podcast because it was so long ago. But when I was about 19, I studied at radio school, and I absolutely loved it. It lit me up, and I just never pursued it. It was another area that I didn't pursue, and now I feel like it's come around. It's taken more than a decade to get back here, but yeah, it's great. And I love doing this podcast. I love sharing interviews with amazing people and sharing what I feel is valuable, and I hope it is, and I so welcome your feedback. So please, if you ever want to give me feedback on what you want more of or what you want less of as well, because it's so useful to know that stuff, please let me know. Please send me an email. You can email me at marla@marlakennedy.com, or you can hit me on the socials at Marla Loves on Instagram. That's my primary home. And also, if you feel called to leave a 5-star review, I'd love for you to do that as well, because it really helps me and supports me so I can keep doing this. And it is something I really love, that really lights me up. So I'm really leaning into that and really focusing on that. And so so the podcast is one of my biggest priorities in my business now, apart from working with my clients directly. It's really, really important to me. So I am spending a lot of time doing that and working on that, and it brings me so much joy. And the other thing with prioritizing that, is the editing process. I am very blessed that my partner is in film and photography, and so he edits my episodes for me, which saves me a lot of time, because I've done editing before, and it's not a strong skill of mine by any means, far from it. And so if I was to edit the episodes to the standard that I would like to have them edited at, it would take me a really long time, and it would take me away from the things that are my gifts and that I love to do, and that I feel more effective at doing. So I outsource to him. So outsourcing is a really powerful way of doing things. If you can, I highly recommend doing that. And asking for support is the other thing. So this has been a real game changer for me, and it's one of the ways that I am able to record these podcast episodes every week, and have my coaching clients and stuff. So I'm lucky we have a lot of support here, so I can ask family for support, but I mainly ask my partner for support and make really clear requests with him. And if you work with me one-on-one, I really dive deep into requests. It's something that I'm trained in formulating them, so they're really, really powerful, and it really changes things. But of course, I'm going to share some of the elements of a really clear request to help you ask for what you need, because I know it can be sometimes challenging to ask for help and ask for support, and there have been times where I've just let things build up, and that's what fosters resentment, and it's not effective because you don't get the things you don't want done. So when you ask for help or ask for support, if you can, because you know people that you can support, then ask them with a specific, be really specific with your request. So you want to set a timeline, and you want to give a really powerful reason why and when you would like them to get respond to you by. The clearer you are, the more effective the request is going to be, because and the more the other person will respond positively. So if you give it, so for example, say if I was to ask my partner if he could watch the kids for me sometime this week so that I could work on my podcast. If I just asked him, hey Rowan, would you be able to watch the kids? I need to work on my podcast. That is not an effective request. It's really ineffective. I haven't given a time. I haven't asked when he can get back to me about it. I haven't told him why it's important to me. I just haven't been specific. I've left out all the details. So I could make this more specific and clearer by saying, hey, Rowan, I'm requesting that you could watch both the kids on Wednesday from 10 to 11 because I'm interviewing this amazing woman for my podcast, and it's really going to help elevate the show, and it's really, really important to me. So are you free at this time? If you could let me know by the end of the day whether you can or not, otherwise, so that I could lock in this date with this woman and commit to it. So do you see the difference in how that request is structured? It's a lot clearer. It goes into a lot of detail, and it can seem silly sometimes to give a really detailed reason, but people respond to your passion and to your vision, and so it just makes it more powerful. And giving them a timeline to respond is really useful because, well, it helps you so you can actually commit to what you're doing, but it gives them a framework to go by. Like, if you don't give a timeline to respond by, they might just say, yeah, sure, and then never respond and never get back to you, and nothing will happen. And then if you have a timeline, you can check in with them at a certain time. If they haven't got back to you, and go, hey, just checking in to see whether you can do the podcast for me, and so on. And I want to make another point with this. This is a request, so they can say no. It's not a demand, and sometimes I've done this in the past where I've made a request and thought of it as a demand and got really upset or frustrated or angry because they've said no. But the person, when you make a request, the person can say yes, or they can say no, or they could give you a counter offer. So they could say, I can't do it at that time, but what about this time? So, and that's something as well. When someone requests something of you, be really clear with them. You say yes, say no, or offer another alternative for them. And it can be really helpful, and if you're going to say no, to give a reason why you're going to say no. I think that's a really nice, supportive way of responding to a request. So I really hope that's useful. It's been really important for me. It's been a game changer for me, and I make requests of my partner all the time. I have found it's really helped because then I can sit down and I can record the podcast, or when I have clients, I can book my coaching calls ahead of time. I made a request of him to have certain days that I set for my podcast as well, and set for my clients, and that's been really helpful because now I can plan ahead. And he does the same thing. So we also share a calendar, which is another really useful tool. And when he's booking a wedding or something in, we put it into the shared calendar, and I also sync it to my business calendar. And it means I know when he's not available. So on those days, I know that I can't schedule stuff, and I don't need to ask. It's really clear, and it's really easy for us to both update what we've got going on to the calendar. So I invite you to try this on, and I invite you to prioritize and look at all the daily things that you're doing every day in your life. And this doesn't have to relate to business either. I'm just sharing what's happening for me in my experience. But if it's for something personal in your life, maybe you just need a break, or you just want to go away for a weekend or something. And you maybe you're a mum, and then so you need support with kids. Maybe you're not a mum. Maybe you just want someone to come and help you out. Maybe you're moving house or anything. The same thing can apply. You can use requests in the same way, and you can prioritize and really look at what you really need to do and what's not as important. And and really look at where you can outsource and where you can get help, because that can make a really difference. Work in your zone of genius where you can, and then try and delegate the other stuff. I think that can be really valuable, and I'm still working on that. There's still a lot of things that I haven't outsourced that I'm definitely going to be doing. I'm just not there yet. I'm transitioning. So for now, my podcast editing is the biggest thing that I outsource, and I think the podcast would be going up a lot slower if I wasn't doing that. So that's about all that I have to share with you today. I really hope it's been valuable and useful. Please share with me, because that just helps me fine-tune what I'm sharing with you. And if you're interested in working with me one-on-one, I am taking on a couple of new clients in February, so please reach out and we can get on a call and have a chat and just see if we're a good fit, because of course I think that's really, really essential to make sure that we're going to mesh well and that I can really support you in the way that you want to be supported and held through the coaching process. So reach out. It's marla@marlakennedy.com. I will actually leave a link to my email address in the show notes as well. And I hope you have a beautiful day. I'll talk to you later, and just remember, know your value, know your worth. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you like it, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you love this episode, please give it an honest review on iTunes and let me know what you loved and what you want more of. Your feedback helps me truly elevate the show into something that really serves you and allows me to keep pouring my heart and soul into it. This is for you. Let's rise together. And remember, know your value, know your worth. I love you, beautiful soul.